There is a thought you have had that you have probably never told anyone. Not a secret, not a confession, just a thought, half a second long, uninvited, gone before you could finish it. And you have never said it out loud, because saying it out loud would make it real. And if it were real, it would mean something about you that you do not want to know. You know exactly which thought I mean. Tonight, you'll stand somewhere high, a balcony, a parking garage, the edge of a subway platform, with the yellow line under your shoes. You'll be doing nothing, thinking about dinner, or a text you haven't answered, and your body will lean, just slightly, toward the drop, and your mind will produce a single, clean sentence, in your own voice, that says, you could jump, and you'll step back, fast, heart going, and you'll look around to see if anyone noticed, because obviously nobody noticed. It happened entirely inside your skull. And then you'll spend the rest of the evening running a quiet background process that asks, what is wrong with me? Why would I think that? Am I okay? Is this the beginning of something? You've never Googled it. Half of you doesn't want the answer. So here's the answer. And I need you to sit with how strange it is. That thought is not a symptom. That thought is not a warning. That thought is one of the most reliable pieces of evidence available that your survival system is in perfect working order. And the reason it feels like the opposite is that your brain lied to you about where it came from. Not metaphorically. It lied. It made something up on the spot and handed it to you with total confidence, and you believed it because you have believed everything that voice has ever told you. The French call it l'appel du vide, the call of the void. Scientists gave it a name so boring, it's almost insulting. The high place phenomenon. And what's underneath it is one of the most unsettling things anyone has ever discovered about being a person. Let's go back. Take away the railing. That's the first thing to understand. The railing is roughly 200 years old as a standard feature of human life, and your brain has never heard of it. Take away the guardrail, the harness, the safety code, the lawsuit, the hospital at the bottom, the ambulance, the surgeon, the metal plate they'd put in your leg. Take away the phone you'd call for help with. Take away the idea that anyone would come. Now put your ancestor on a cliff, not for fun. Nobody in the Pleistocene climbed anything for the view. She's up there because that's where the honey is, or the bird eggs, or the ledge that gets her past the ravine before dark, or the high ground where she can see what's coming across the grass. There is no gear. Her feet are bare, and the rock is wet, and there is a 200-foot drop, 18 inches to her left. And here is the part that matters. If she falls and dies, that's the good outcome. That's the clean one. The bad outcome is that she falls and lives. Shattered leg, 30,000 years before the concept of a splint, in a group that walks 15 kilometers a day to eat and cannot carry her. A broken femur in that world is not an injury. It's a schedule. It tells you approximately how many days you have left. So the price of one bad step was everything, every single time, which means for 300,000 years, being casually relaxed near a ledge was not a personality trait that got passed down. Everyone who had it is gone. You are descended, without a single exception in the entire chain, from primates who were deeply weird about heights. That is your whole family tree, millions of ancestors, and not one of them was chill on a cliff. And the system they left you is not calm, and it's not thoughtful, and it does not wait for you. You can watch it get installed. In 1960, Eleanor Gibson and Richard Walk at Cornell built what they called the visual cliff, a table with a thick glass surface, and underneath one half, the floor drops away, so it looks like an edge while being completely solid. They put babies on it, babies who had just learned to crawl. Their mothers stood on the far side, calling them, and the babies crawled happily across the shallow side and then stopped dead at the visual edge and wouldn't cross it. Some of them cried. Some patted the glass with a hand, solid, obviously solid, the hand says so, and refused anyway. 8 months old, never fallen off anything, Nobody taught them what a cliff was. The knowledge was already in there, waiting, preloaded, older than their ability to speak. That thing is still in you, and it does not go through your conscious mind, because your conscious mind is far too slow to be trusted with this. Here's what actually happens when you step near the edge. Thomas Brandt and his colleagues in Munich worked out something quietly disturbing about how you stand up. You think balance is an inner ear thing. It's mostly a vision thing. Your body is constantly making tiny corrections against nearby stable objects, the wall, the floor pattern, the door frame, and it does this hundreds of times a minute, and you have never once noticed. Now take those away. Stand on an edge where everything visible is 100 meters down. Your reference points are gone. The correction loop breaks. Your body starts swaying, genuinely, physically, and the postural system does not know why, and it panics. And that panic hits before the thought, milliseconds before. Your muscles pull you back. Your grip tightens. Adrenaline goes out. Heart rate climbs. The whole emergency kit deploys. And all of it happens in a part of your brain that has no access to language and no interest in explaining itself. And then consciousness shows up. Late. Like a manager walking into a room where the fire's already out, looking at the extinguisher on the floor, demanding to know what happened here. And this is where the horror is, because your conscious mind, faced with a body that has already reacted to something it can't perceive, does not say, "I don't know." It never says that. It makes something up. We have known this about ourselves since the 70s, and it has never stopped being upsetting. Richard Nisbett and Timothy Wilson published a paper in 1977 with a title that reads like an accusation, "Telling More Than We Can Know." What they showed, across study after study, is that when people are asked why they did something, they produce an explanation instantly, fluently, in detail. And the explanation is frequently wrong, not a lie. They believe it completely. It's just that the real cause was invisible to them. So the mind generated a plausible one and filed it as memory. Michael Gazzaniga, working with patients whose brain hemispheres had been surgically separated, found it in its purest and most brutal form. He could feed an instruction to one hemisphere, the one that can't talk, and the patient would carry it out. Then he'd ask the talking hemisphere why, and it would answer, immediately, confidently, with a reason it had invented 1 second earlier and had absolutely no doubt about. Gazzaniga called that system the interpreter, and its job is not truth. Its job is coherence. It is a press secretary for a government. It has never been allowed inside. You have one of those. It's running right now. It's the thing you experience as thinking. So put it together. You step toward the edge. Ancient hardware detects instability and yanks you back before you know anything is happening. Your body floods with the unmistakable physical signature of "I nearly died." And your interpreter walks in, finds an intact person standing on a solid balcony with a hammering heart and no danger anywhere, and demands a story that accounts for the fear. There isn't one. Nothing happened. Nobody pushed you. So there's only one suspect left in the room. And the interpreter says, "You must have wanted to jump." That's it. That's the call of the void. It's not a desire. It's a misfiled receipt. It's your brain's press secretary explaining an alarm it never had clearance to see. And the only explanation available in a world with no cliff, no predator, and no threat is you, which is why the meaning of the thought is precisely, exactly, inverted from what it feels like. And somebody actually went and checked. In 2012, Jennifer Hames and colleagues at the University of Notre Dame ran the first real study of this, published in the Journal of Affective Disorders, and they gave it a title that I would like tattooed on the inside of every balcony door in the world. An urge to jump affirms the urge to live. They surveyed hundreds of undergraduates, and among the people who reported never having had a single suicidal thought in their lives, never, not once, roughly half said, "Yes, I have stood somewhere high and felt that." Half. These are not people in crisis. These are people with no relationship to that darkness whatsoever, having the experience anyway, in large numbers, quietly, and never mentioning it to anybody, because every one of them independently concluded it meant something shameful about them specifically. There's a whole room full of you, and none of you have ever spoken. And the pattern in the data goes the way the theory predicts. The people most likely to report it were the people highest in anxiety sensitivity, meaning the people whose bodies produce the loudest internal signals and who pay the closest attention to them, which is not a defect either. That's a smoke detector wired for a smaller house. It's the same trait that made someone useful on a ledge with bare feet. Your survival system is not misfiring. Your survival system is doing something so fast, so competent, and so completely beneath the floor of your awareness that the only way you ever find out it exists is when it leaves a mess. Your conscious mind has to invent a reason for. You never feel the save. You only ever feel the confusion afterward. And here's the last thing, the thing that turns the whole picture around. You are not the only one having thoughts you didn't order. In 2014, Adam Radomski and an international team ran a study across 13 countries on 6 continents, published in the Journal of Obsessive Compulsive and Related Disorders, asking ordinary people, no diagnoses, no clinical population, whether they experienced unwanted intrusive thought. 94% said yes. 94. Across every culture they tested, every language, every religion. It is not a disorder, it's not a warning sign. It is a near universal feature of running a human brain. Your mind generates material constantly, most of it garbage, and it doesn't check with you first, because a system that only produced thoughts you approved of would be far too slow to have kept anyone alive. The thought is not the person. The thought is weather. We just built a civilization that gave you nothing else to blame it on. That's the actual modern problem here, not the phenomenon. The phenomenon is 300,000 years old, and your great-great-great-grandmother had it standing on a rock in the rain. The problem is that we built a world where the danger is invisible and the edge is behind glass, and there is no lion in the grass. So when the ancient system fires, there is nothing in the room to attach it to. So it attaches to you. Modern life didn't make you paranoid. It just removed every external explanation for your own body and left you holding a nervous system with nowhere to point it. You feel the fear. You look around. You find a Tuesday and a coffee and no threat of any kind. So the fear must be coming from inside. And it must be about you. And it must mean something is broken. It isn't. Nothing is broken. The building is fine. It's just very tall. And something in you has always known exactly what that means. So the next time you're up there, and there will be a next time, next month, next year, on some balcony you haven't seen yet, and that half-second sentence arrives in your own voice, I want you to hear what's really being said underneath it. It isn't, you want to fall. It's an alarm that has been running without a single day off for 300,000 years. In every ancestor you have ever had, on every ledge any of them ever stood on. It's the same signal that stopped a baby on a sheet of glass in 1960 because something older than her mother's voice told her not to. It's the reason your line didn't end on a wet rock somewhere in the Rift Valley 2,000 generations ago. It's not a death wish with the volume turned down. It's a life wish with the volume turned all the way up, screaming in a language that stopped having words 100,000 years before there were any. You stepped back. That's the part you keep forgetting. Every single time this has ever happened to you in your entire life, you stepped back, and you never once had to decide to. Something in you decided, fast, without asking, the way it always has. You are not a person with a dark thought. You are a creature that has been kept alive quietly, invisibly, by something that never asks for credit and never explains itself and has never, not once, gotten it wrong. You're still human.